the Council's traditional program on international security, but will expand its capacity to address the new array of challenges and opportunities that face the transatlantic community. But to understand the security agenda of tomorrow correctly, we need to engage with the leaders of tomorrow, which is you. It is for that reason that the Scowcroft Center will house the Scowcroft Leadership Network. My colleague to my right, Barry Cavell, will discuss the Scowcroft Leadership Network activities in greater detail, but will seek to be representative of General Scowcroft's commitments to mentorship and the cause of the international security and the transatlantic alliance. I know General Scowcroft wished he could have been here today for the announcement, but he is attending the 65th class reunion of the West Point graduating class of 1947, something that's also near and dear to his heart, and I remind him frequently that he's older than the United States Air Force. So it's now my pleasure to turn over the floor to my friend and Scowcroft Center Vice Chair, the great Secretary, great Congresswoman, great American, Ellen Tauscher.
Thank you so much, Jim. I'm so excited to be helping serve as the Vice Chair of the Friends Scowcroft Center. I'm also a member of the Atlantic Council Board and Executive Committee. This is truly a needed initiative in Washington. I'm particularly excited about the Scowcroft Leadership Network and its potential to offer the kind of fresh thinking and ideas that the Scowcroft Center is created to inspire. The United States and our allies need the kind of fresh perspectives and insights that you can use in order to be successful in achieving our international aims and ambitions. We will not succeed in making a better world if all of us do not do all we can to convene. If all we do is just convene and talk and have the traditional long-winded, long-standing views exchanged among people that have pretty fixed positions. Instead, we need to make sure that we have a world and a dialogue that can really keep up with the world that is changing as quickly as ours is today. I think of no better person than to name a leadership network after than General Scowcroft. In many ways, and many times during his public service, General Scowcroft has left behind many protégés, and we all have benefited from his wisdom and insights. I was fortunate enough to meet General Scowcroft early in my congressional career. I was elected in 1996 from California. I met him at the Munich Security Conference, which I was invited to by General Jones. And we started up a very strong friendship, and he became a very dear friend and an important mentor to me as I sat on the House Armed Services Committee and chaired the Strategic Forces Subcommittee. And I think he is one of the most interesting thinkers on strategic stability and arms control, an area where I've spent a lot of my time. I want to turn it over to my friend Barry Cavell, who will now speak a bit more specifically about the emerging program and what we hope your roles will be.
Thank you, Ellen, and thank you, Young Atlanticists. And I've noticed from your questions, you're very calm and soft and wishy-washy questions that we'll have to work on making sure you're involved in an analytic way in this effort. I am just thrilled to be here and to be the director of the soon-to-be-launched Friends Scowcroft Center on International Security under the leadership of two of my favorite leaders, General Jones and Undersecretary Tauscher, who I had the pleasure to work with when I was at the White House. I could not agree more with what they just said. So today we just wanted to announce the beginning of the building of the Scowcroft Leadership Network. And if you're taking notes, that's not in capital letters yet, and I'll tell you why. Because we want to continue building this program, and we want to do so with your thoughts and inputs between now and the launch of the Scowcroft Center formally in the fall. So let's back up a bit. So we're building the Friends Scowcroft Center broadly on the model of General Scowcroft and his career and the amazing advice and statesmanship that he provided for the country. And so we're looking to make it practical and relevant and bipartisan and strategic and developing sharp, incisive recommendations on international security and defense strategies. And so there's three main pillars of the Scowcroft Center. First, we're covering the new agenda of transatlantic security in all of its dimensions, and we've certainly had a very fulsome discussion of those issues here. Second, we're also going to address cutting-edge global security issues that are not yet fully appreciated, in which we want to involve our transatlantic partners and our new global partners. And those cut across a very wide range of areas. I've discussed many of those issues with many of you during our many opportunities to talk during this summit. They cover things like advanced disruptive technologies, such as 3D printing and big data, and what those implications will be for our security, from our alliance relationships, our partnerships, so a very wide range of geopolitical and other issues. So that's the second element. But the third pillar of the Scowcroft Center will be this leadership network, of which we'd like to engage you. And General Scowcroft is known for his mentoring, and this element is a core part of our vision. And so when we discussed this element of the Scowcroft Center vision with him, he was literally thrilled. So we want to build the key contours of this with your input prior to the full launch, and we currently have about 5 principles for this effort. So I'll cover these principles just so you have a sense of what we're thinking about, so you understand sort of the boundaries and the limits and what's possible and et cetera. So I'll go through those 5 things, and then I'll turn it over to Jeff. So number one, we want this network that you are a part of to be sustained. And so the relationships that you're building now, we really want you to keep those going. We find that identity and those connections a very important part of what we're trying to build here. Second, we would like to deepen and expand your group to include new colleagues from new regions and from some of the areas that we've talked about here at this summit. Third, we will be including Scowcroft leaders in our core programming as a routine matter. And so on Thursday of this week, we will be convening a major event in Washington, assessing the NATO Summit here in Chicago. And we have a Young Atlanticist on our main panel assessing the summit outcomes and making recommendations on how the alliance should go forward to best meet the challenges that you just heard Liz Sherwood-Randall talk to you about. Fourth, you are already leaders in your field, as many of you have heard from the speakers at this podium. And so the program that we're building, we would like to sustain that very high quality of participants. It's a very important aspect of how we want to go forward on this program. And fifth, just a cautionary note, it was once told to me during my government career that a strategy without a sense of resources is a hallucination. And that one you can quote. And so while this will be a robust program, I just want to make sure that you understand it will have some parameters, and so we need to be sensitive and attentive to those bounds as we go forward. So I heard some talk of the all-expenses-paid annual trip to Fiji. That will not be a part of the Scowcroft Center program. So we're very much looking forward to working with you and to hearing from you, and David Kirk, whom you all know, is a core aspect of this effort. And so please, let's keep this conversation going, and we want to hear from you. And now I'll turn it over to Jeff.